How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number one. Let's make this question simple. We are looking at what happens when sea otters are in the ecosystem and when they are not. First, remember this food chain. Sea otters eat sea urchins and sea urchins eat kelp. If otters are there, they eat the sea urchins. That means fewer sea urchins are around to eat the kelp, so the kelp can grow a lot. When there is more kelp, there is more carbon stored. If otters are gone, the sea urchins take over and eat a lot of kelp. With less kelp around, less carbon will be stored. So the correct answer is the carbon storage is higher when otters are present because they eat the sea urchins. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number two. Let's break this down step by step. Kelp is a living thing that makes its own food using carbon dioxide. This means it takes carbon out of the environment and stores it. Now here's the important part. When kelp dies, it sinks to the bottom of the ocean. Down there, there is not much oxygen, so it does not break down quickly. So instead of carbon re entering the atmosphere, some of the carbon stored in the dead kelp is trapped in the geosphere of the sea floor, making the correct answer choice 2. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number 3. The process that converts light energy into chemical energy inside the kelp is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is how plants make their food, and one way to spot photosynthesis is by looking for that sunlight. Between the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, combined with water from the rain, plants use energy from the sun to make glucose or sugar for us to eat and oxygen for us to breathe in, making the correct answer choice 3. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number 4. When CO2 combines with water, it produces carbonic acid, lowering the water's pH. A pH of less than 7.8 can interfere with the ability of some marine organisms, like sea urchins, to make shells and skeletons. If the trend in atmospheric CO2 levels continues, sea urchin populations may be impacted. So, as long as you describe evidence from this graph that supports this claim, you can earn yourself 1 point for this short answer question. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number 5. For this question, it's important to understand that the ocean represents the hydrosphere, and living organisms such as sea urchins represent the biosphere. Sea urchins make their shells using calcium ions and carbonate ions to form calcium carbonate. However, as ocean acidification increases, the carbonate ions in the hydrosphere get used up, and the sea urchins will not have the resources needed to make their shells, reducing the number of urchins in the biosphere. So, as long as your answer addresses the cycling of carbon between the biosphere and at least one other sphere as environmental conditions change, you can earn yourself 1 point for this short answer question. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number 6. When blood flows through the human urinary system, it brings oxygen, water, and other nutrients to the cells of the kidneys by way of the arteries of the circulatory system. The kidney's job is to filter that blood and remove waste products such as salts, which then get stored in the urinary bladder. Finally, any filtered blood travels through the veins of the circulatory system back to the heart and lungs, making the correct answer to this question choice 4. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents. Question number 7. Let's look at two different kinds of kidneys, one from a fish and one from a mammal that lives on land. Notice how short the tubule is for the fish compared to the tubule for the mammal. The key tells us that the little dots represent water. Notice how the mammal's tube is full of those water dots. So, which statement explains that natural selection led to the evolution of the nephron structure and function in terrestrial mammals? Well, if you are a fish, you are surrounded by water all day. You don't need to worry about running out. But if you are a mammal living on land, water is hard to find. You have to save every drop you drink. Because the mammal's tube is longer, the body has more time and space to soak that water back up into the blood instead of peeing it out. The animals that had longer tubes were better at saving water, so they survived longer and had more babies. This is called natural selection, making the correct answer choice 2. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 8. This graph shows us what happens to a special protein in your body called EPO, which tells your body to make more red blood cells. Look at the line for normal oxygen. It stays pretty flat and low. But look what happens when the people in the study were given low oxygen for 2 hours. That line shoots way up. This is a feedback mechanism. Your body feels that there isn't enough oxygen. To fix the problem, the kidneys start pumping out more EPO. That EPO then makes more red blood cells, which act like tiny delivery trucks to carry more oxygen to your muscles and brain. This is also a form of homeostasis. So the evidence from the graph is that when oxygen goes down, EPO levels go up. This helps the body to get back to a healthy state. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 9. In addition to carrying oxygen, red blood cells also help manage the water in your body with the help of these structures called aquaporins. Due to their unique cell structure, red blood cells are able to expand up to 74% or shrink up to 40% compared to the original cell size. Therefore, aquaporins in the red blood cells help facilitate the exchange of water, making the correct answer choice 1. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 10. Red blood cells typically have a biconcave disc shape. However, scientists found that when red blood cell membrane was less flexible, the oxygen transfer capacity decreased by 18%. And when the red blood cell membrane was more flexible, the oxygen carrying capacity increased by 21%. When red blood cells take on water, their membrane becomes more flexible. So, consuming water after exercise helps an athlete's body maintain homeostasis, since as the number of red blood cells taking on water increases, cell flexibility increases, increasing the rate of oxygen transfer. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 11. In order for abnormalities such as frogs having extra legs to be inherited or passed on to an offspring, there would need to be a mutation in the DNA of the sex cells of the parents. Once those mutated sex cells go through the fertilization process, the chance of the offspring having an abnormality increases dramatically, making the correct answer choice 3. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 12. After further review, scientists discovered that these deformities in frogs were not caused by a genetic mutation. The actual cause was a parasitic flatworm called Ribaroya, which undergoes a complex life cycle involving many different hosts. First, the flatworm larvae finds its way into tadpoles so that the tadpoles can grow and develop into adult frogs with limb deformities. Frogs with the most severe limb deformities are more likely to be caught by birds, allowing the adult Ribaroya to survive and reproduce, making the correct answer choice 1. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 13. In order to understand why extra limbs grew in parasite infected frogs, we need to look at the Hox genes controlling leg formation. Hox genes help determine the body plan from head to tail during the early stages of development. However, scientists found that high levels of retinoic acid can affect the activity of Hox genes. Proteins produced by the activated Hox genes attach to DNA sequences and turn large numbers of different genes on. In summary, parasites increase the level of retinoic acid in the tadpole's limb, causing Hox genes to transcribe more of the proteins that activated limb formation genes, making the correct answer choice 2. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 14. Based on this passage, the Ribaroya parasite causes a rapid increase in retinoic acid in tadpoles. And as we saw in the last question, the retinoic acid affects the activity of Hox genes, which transcribes proteins that activate limb formation genes, which is exactly the question being asked in choice 1. How to pass the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 15. The genetic and physical evidence that shows that all of these arthropods share a common ancestor is that the Hox gene makes the body plan follow the head, thorax, and abdomen pattern. Hannah passed the June 2025 Biology Regents question number 16. As mentioned in a previous question, Hox genes produce specific body parts in the correct orientation. So even though mice and fruit flies are very different animals, the Hox genes are so similar, they will switch on the correct genes for producing eyes in either animal. For more videos just like this one, please visit biovideotutor.com.